I didn't even have time to talk about the Fantastic Four. Marvel's first family, Fantastic Four. We're working on a feature now, and it will be directed by the director of our recent Spider-Man films, John Watts.
And the smartest man alive, Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. Hello, Stephen.
Every single episode of WandaVision was directed by one man. His name was Matt Shackman. He's over there somewhere, and I just brought him to say hi because he is directing Fantastic Four.
It has been a tremendous journey for Marvel's first family to join the MCU, but at long last, the day has arrived. Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four First Steps arrives in theaters July 25th, and I could not be more excited. As a longtime fan of these characters, I've been waiting for them to get their time in the spotlight, and that light is shining bright. The Marvel Cinematic Universe holds a special place in my heart for reigniting my love for these characters. It also kickstarted my action figure collecting habits, as I am a certified MCU collector. And of course, when there's a new property on the block and a major motion picture coming out, it's time to make some sweet money. Which takes us to Hasbro's Marvel Legends. Our story begins with leaky faucets and Reddit threads, as rumors were suggesting a Marvel Legends wave for the upcoming film, consisting of Mr. Fantastic, Sue Storm, Human Torch, The Thing, Shalabal, and Franklin Richards with Herbie. In a wave of 6, about a movie of a team of 4, anybody could have guessed half this wave. I will say though, at the time, Franklin's presence in the film had not been as prominent, so this is the most interesting conclusion of this supposed wave. But, well, this leak was fake. Or was it? Because we did eventually get more information about this wave, starting with 4-4 Day and the All Hands on Deck teaser. Most intriguing about this was that we were getting a normal Johnny Storm, which is something we've never gotten before, at least for the movie iteration. The 2005 film had Human Torches, but the only Johnny Storm was a statue-like figure. After that, weeks and months passed by, we got the official trailer, a couple posters, and the marketing was starting up. Then, one random day, Walmart accidentally posted pre-order links for a Marvel Legends Wave of 6, titled under the team name. They were able to be ordered, but there was no pictures. But this ultimately told us the reveal was inbound, and a few weeks later, a new fan stream was upon us, and the MCU wave was confirmed to be shown. However, a little oopsie the night before had leaked the Human Torch figure. This obviously gave us a look at the figure a day early, but it also messed up the leak list. After this, people were speculating that maybe the final two characters in the wave would be an Invisible Woman, like the retro card version, and this Human Torch figure. But this would have eliminated Silver Surfer and Franklin Richards from the wave. All fair guesses, but I think it would have been kinda lame to get an Invisible Woman clear plastic figure over a new character. But, thankfully, everything would be answered on the May 29th, 2025 fan stream and the official reveal of the Fantastic Four First Steps wave. Given the pivotal roles these characters will play moving forward, and considering the existing Marvel Legends collection, are these good representations of the team, and do they live up to the long build-up? Enough toying around, let's review these figures from the new film, presented in Fantastivision. Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, the patriarch of the Fantastic Four, the greatest scientific mind now represented in plastic form. The figure is wearing the movie suit design, which is distinguishably missing the white collar coloring. Maybe there's a lore reason, or it's just for him to stand out from the other members. The movie figures always get the extra sculpt work, and the texturing of the suit's sweater-like design is represented on the figure, alongside the paneling on the gloves, boots, and belt. It's very cool. But enough of looks, let's go over articulation, which is a bit underwhelming for one of Marvel's most flexible heroes. Starting at the legs are foot hinges, ankle pivot, dode into knees, thigh cut, and leg movement. The torso operates on a waist swivel and upper diaphragm cut. And then the arms have shoulder rotation, bicep cut, double-jointed elbows, and hand hinges. And finally, the head moves on a hinge. As for the head, the likeness is quite spectacular. There's absolutely a likeness to Pedro Pascal. Even the white streaks in the hair are there, so it's pretty cool. All in all, it's a fair range of movement, though it undoubtedly could be better. For instance, I wish the legs could kick up higher, but more specifically, this suit design was primed for a ball joint waist. However, Reed's abilities aren't on full display, which brings us to the accessories. But before that, we have a few hands to look at. A "I'm gonna grab you" hand, a chill guy hand, and a set of fists. But to better represent his powers, this figure comes with interchangeable bendable arms, something we haven't gotten since the old Walgreens wave. The bendy arms are a fun accessory, allowing for all sorts of stretchy shenanigans. Overall, this is a pretty good action figure of the MCU Reed Richards, with a good likeness and great detailing on the suit itself. Articulation is fair, but I wish there was just a bit more range, and as for the accessories, this was probably as good as Hasbro would give us nowadays, and it definitely beats the accessories coming with the other Reed Richards figures. I really wish they took inspiration from Jada Toys with the interchangeable limbs. I think that just would have been a better offering, especially for Mr. Fantastic. But regardless of that, this figure is pretty good. Next up is the Invisible Woman, Sue Storm, and the founder of the Future Foundation. She's also the strongest member, if you know you know. Like Reed, Sue is wearing the uniform from the film, which is pretty spot on here. Hasbro kills it with the movie details and sculpting. Let's move on to articulation, which, surprisingly for a female figure, is just about identical to the male figures. Starting at the bottom, there's foot hinges, ankle pivot, double-jointed knees, thigh swivel, and leg movement. The torso moves at the waist and upper diaphragm cut, arms have shoulder movement, bicep swivel, double-jointed elbows, and hand hinges. And finally, the head moves on a hinge, but is hindered by her hair. Moving on to the face sculpt, Sue is one of the standouts of complaints regarding the likeness, which I find kinda strange because I think the likeness is there. To me, this looks like Vanessa Kirby. Alongside this figure are an assortment of accessories, with a relaxed hand, a single fist, a gripping hand, and an open palm hand with a peg. The assortment is okay, but I wish we got full sets of gestures as opposed to one of each. It must just be the plastic fumes in the air for all these companies to be doing this now. But in regard to the peg, included is a newly molded force field effect with damage on it. In the past we've gotten force field effects, but this is all new and clips into her hand very easy. It looks neat, and at least it's something, but the best way to showcase her abilities is... Female Marvel Legends have been slowly improving their articulation schemes, and Sue is on the same playing field as the other team members, which is fantastic. But it means I also have the same critiques, as I think a double ball joints for the torso articulation would have been pretty cool, and the leg movement could have been better with like drop down hips or something since it gets hindered. So overall, this is probably the best Sue Storm Marvel Legends figure we've gotten. Comic fans are starving, cause this Sue got upgraded articulation, a nice head sculpt, and an effect piece. I understand that invisibility is a difficult power to represent in plastic, but there are a few avenues this could have taken. But for what we got, I like this figure. I think it turned out pretty good. After Sue came Johnny. That's both canon and the order of this review. Everybody's favorite Johnny Storm dressed in the Fantastic Four uniform and not on fire. I mentioned this earlier and in previous videos, but we have never really gotten an action figure of a movie Johnny that isn't on fire, so this is a welcomed addition. This suit once again looks pretty accurate, capturing Johnny's uniform, especially with the lines on the sleeves and whatnot, so yeah, it looks great. Moving on to the articulation, Johnny follows the same layout as Reed and Sue, which means foot hinges, ankle pivot, double-jointed knees, thigh cut, leg movement, waist swivel, upper diaphragm cut, shoulder movement, bicep cut, double-jointed elbows, wrist hinges, and a neck hinge. Like with the other members, a better ab crunch system, I believe, would greatly improve these figures, but for what it is, it's alright. But something that isn't alright is this face sculpt. I felt this back when I saw it on the live stream, and I said it was buns, and now in my hands it still looks like buns. This head, at least to me, looks nothing like Joseph Quinn. So moving on from that, we have some accessories. As for hands, we have a pair of relaxed hands and a set of fists. Well, I guess they heard me, cause now we're getting sets of hands. And finally, to give that little taste of flames, are the ever reused energy, and in this case, fire effects. Despite a bad face sculpt, I still appreciate having a normal Johnny Storm figure. It ironically keeps things pretty chill. Something that isn't chill is the next character, the Human Torch, which of course highlights Johnny's abilities in action figure form. One of the cool aspects of the sweater-like designs on the suits, particularly for Johnny, is that when he lights up, the lines on the suit are reminiscent of Jack Kirby's art style. That appearance is captured both in the film and on this figure, which is super cool. Clear plastic and singular colored paintwork on a re-released figure. This was probably Hasbro's wet dream. But enough of that. How is articulation? Well, you guessed it, just like Reed, Sue, and Johnny. However, this time things are ever so slightly different. Starting at the bottom are foot hinges, ankle pivot, double jointed knees, thigh cut, and upper leg movement. Then the waist swivel and upper diaphragm cut with arm movement, bicep cut, double jointed elbows, and wrist hinges. And finally a neck hinge. To make this figure more flamey, is that a word? But anyways, there are molded flame extensions on the boots, gloves, and around the traps. We typically get these pieces as accessories that you gotta put on, but in my experience they always look a little off, but that is solved here because they're glued on. Now, I'll leave it up to you, but it doesn't seem like this flame piece limits the head tilt. At least to me it doesn't look like it, but I don't know. And alongside this we have the accessories, and in particular 2 sets of hands, fists and flying hands. Another double set of hands that both make sense, and even have more glued on flames, so that's pretty cool. Is this figure fire? I'd say so. The old Human Torch figures have better articulation, but the movie one has more style to it, which I think boosts it. The option for both flame on or flame off is nice, and even lets you mix and match them, so that's fun. But overall, this figure is lit. Do people even still say that? I think I've been talking about Johnny's for a little too long now. Let's move on to something more rock hard. And now, the final member of the Fantastic Four, the ever-loving blue-eyed thing, Ben Grimm. Of all the characters in the wave, besides Johnny's face, this is the most fascinating. Of course, toy companies work with materials like concept art to get these figures produced in time, but sometimes that works against them as things change. And speaking of things changing, he went from wearing only pants to wearing a full uniform. But judging from the promotions, it seems like this look is almost accurate, just missing the boots. But this design is more in line with his comic appearance, so I don't know. It honestly depends on what his look is going to be moving forward. Moving on to the articulation, this follows a similar formula to the previous Marvel Legend Thing figures. Foot hinges, ankle pivot, double jointed knees, thigh cut and leg movement, waist swivel with upper diaphragm cuts, the arms move on shoulder joints, full bicep movement, single jointed elbows and hand hinges, and then the head moves on a ball joint. This is the same articulation layout as previous things, so I guess if it ain't broke, don't fix it. To take a look at some head, I gotta say, it looks nice. It would be very disappointing to see them mess up a CGI likeness. I will say though, I wish there was an extra face sculpt where he's more angry. Regardless of the outfit, he's not alone, as he comes with some hands. You get a set of fists and open palm hands. A fair range of gestures, so no complaints there. But speaking of complaints, I wish he had some sort of butterfly system. I understand about the rocky sculpting, but I don't know, there's gotta be a way to do it. Oh, never mind. To wrap this up, Thing is a nice figure, and despite the confusing fashion choices, I think it's great. The Fantastic Four, as seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, are now available in plastic form by Marvel Legends, is something I've been waiting years for. But do they deliver? For the most part, I'd say yes. It's kind of surreal in a way to finally have this team, and I could sit here and nitpick and complain about everything wrong or how to fix these, but I don't know, I'm just glad to have them. Though I will say, and this is increasingly common trend among most MCU figures, there are no butterfly joints. Maybe the concerns are about breaking the mold of the upper diaphragm, but I don't know, I'd rather have more articulation than pitch perfect designs. Speaking of designs, no, the 4 logos are not on the bottom of the shoes. A detail I didn't mention during the reviews are the wristwatches. Based on the trailers, these are communicator alert devices, so while not being fully painted, it is a nice detail to have, and if you don't want them wearing it, they are removable. So yeah, I gotta say, it's what is happening?
I herald his beginning. I herald your end. I herald Galactus.
Oh crap. Our final review is Shalabal, the Silver Surfer, the Herald of Galactus for this new film. Regardless of whatever you think about her, I believe this is her first release in the Marvel Legends line, and of course, her theatrical debut. And well, she's a silver woman, so that's what you get. To be fair, there are some faint gold lines all over her, which I mean look cool. Moving on to articulation, she definitely has the least range in the wave. Starting at the bottom, there are foot hinges, ankle pivot, double jointed knees, thigh cut, and leg movement. Then there's an upper diaphragm cut with shoulder movement, bicep cut, double jointed elbows and hand hinges, and then the head moves on a hinge. As for the head, like with Ben, they gotta do the CGI faces right, and in this case, I think they did a pretty good job. And like I said earlier, Marvel Legends has been improving their female character articulation, but for someone like Silver Surfer, I think something like an ab crunch or just more movement would have greatly benefited this figure. Speaking of surfing, she comes with her board. The board actually has more intricate details than the figure, with lines and subtle paintwork all over it. I think it looks pretty cool and makes it more visually interesting than some of the comic Silver Surfer boards. Now this surfboard actually comes with an accessory of its own, so this is like a 3-layered offering. The board comes with a flight stand of cosmic energy looking stuff. This is pretty cool, because without it she'd just be surfing on land, and that's no fun. I will say it's very annoying to keep her on the board. Hopefully one day they figure out a better method of doing this. So, with all that out of the way, let's turn back to Shala Ball herself and the other set of accessories, being a few different hands. In total, she comes with a pair of silver fists, silver flying hands, and a silver gripping hand. A nice assortment, but I just gotta mention how in one of the promo images, in order to showcase the grabbing hand, they make her carry her board, which, I don't know, I just find that very funny looking. Do Silver Surfers really do this? This offering is nice. You get everything you'd want from a Silver Surfer figure, I guess minus maybe some effect pieces, but I think the articulation is just a little lacking for this type of character. So after all that, this figure is pretty cool, but it's definitely the weakest in the wave. The Fantastic Four First Steps Marvel Legends action figure wave. The 6-figure wave of Marvel's first family stylized after their new cinematic introduction to the wider MCU. As someone who's been waiting a long time for these characters and these figures, ultimately, I believe this was a good wave. In the community, there's a strange hostility towards different types of collectors, whether it be comic collectors or movie collectors, and while these are based on the film, they are undoubtedly a great upgrade for these characters in general. Leading up to this reveal, I mentioned the leak wave, and maybe things changed down the road or were moved around, but I do believe we'll get Franklin and especially Herbie one day. If there's one thing you can bet on, is that we're going to get many more releases of the Fantastic Four, and I'm sure something is already brewing for their next big outing. But with that, I really hope they actually improve on these figures. Now that everything is locked in, we need a better likeness for Johnny, and hopefully more accessories for Reed and Sue. As of the making of this video, there hasn't been any additional reveals or figures for this film, but I hope a certain hungry galactic entity eventually makes his way into the line. But for now, the Marvel Legends MCU Fantastic Four First Steps action figure wave is a great release of these characters from their cinematic appearance. With unique molds and decent articulation, there's absolutely room for improvement with accessories and likenesses, but overall, I gotta say, it's fantastic.
Say that again?
No.
What time is it, Ben?
No.
What time is it, Ben?
No, Johnny.
Say it!
I don't wanna!